You ever have that feeling when something just doesn't fit? Like a puzzle piece dropped into the wrong spot? It's subtle at first. You think maybe you're tired or your eyes are playing tricks, but then it lingers. It crawls under your skin, and you know something is very wrong. That's exactly how it started for me. Back in '97, I was working as a courier in the city. My route was the same every day, delivering packages, dropping off letters, picking up whatever odd jobs came my way. The streets were familiar, almost comforting. Old brick buildings, faded signs, the corner diner that served the same burnt coffee every morning. And the empty lot on 5th and Main, a patch of cracked asphalt and weeds where nothing ever grew. I walked past that lot every morning, probably 1,000 times. It was a void, nothing but open space, nothing to look at. Until that morning, I turned the corner onto Main Street, just like always, and stopped dead. Because there it was, a building. Not just any building, but a towering black monolith, sleek, glassy, impossibly tall, like someone had dropped a piece of some other world right in the middle of our sleepy city. It didn't fit. The architecture was cold and sharp, almost aggressive. It swallowed the sunlight. The windows were so dark I couldn't see inside. No signs, no doors, just a perfect, shadowy block that loomed over everything. I blinked, twice. I looked around, half expecting to see construction workers, cranes, a crew putting up scaffolding. Nothing. Just the usual pedestrians, heads down, rushing by, as if the building wasn't there at all. "Excuse me," I asked a woman at the newsstand. "What's that building?" She looked at me like I was crazy, like I was speaking a different language.
That? That's been an empty lot for years, mister.
My stomach twisted. I pulled out my camera. Yeah, this was before smartphones, real film cameras, and snapped a few pictures. The building held still in the lens, black and silent. No movement, no lights, nothing. I tried to make sense of it on the way to work, but the feeling just grew heavier. Like I'd stepped into a dream where something was terribly off, and I was the only one who noticed. I came back the next day hoping to catch a better look. But the building was gone. Just the empty lot again. The cracked asphalt, the weeds, nothing else. I showed the photos to my friends that night. They laughed, said it was some trick of the light, a double exposure. Maybe I dreamed it, but I know what I saw, and I saw it again. I couldn't get the building out of my head. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that dark monolith rising like a shadow over the city. It was as if it was calling me, a silent invitation I couldn't refuse. After a few restless nights, I found myself standing in front of the empty lot again. The morning sun was low, casting long shadows across the cracked pavement. But as I stared, the outline of the building shimmered, like heat haze on a summer day. Then it solidified, dark and real. This time, I didn't just look from the street. I stepped forward, cautious, heartbeat hammering in my chest. The sidewalk gave way to a polished marble floor. I blinked. I was inside. The lobby was vast and empty. The walls were cold, smooth, and reflected nothing. No signs, no paintings, no decoration. The silence was thick, pressing against my ears. Overhead, fluorescent lights hummed faintly, flickering once, twice. The air smelled faintly of dust and old paper. There was a reception desk in the center, like some corporate fortress. No receptionist, no computer. Except one screen glowed softly. Curiosity pulled me closer. The monitor showed a single folder named Visitors. I hesitated, then clicked it open. Inside was one file, just one, with my name on it. I stared. My heart sank. I hadn't created that file. I hadn't been here before. Or had I? I tried to open it, but the screen flickered and went black. The silence deepened. I felt eyes on me. I turned around. No one. Just the empty lobby, the endless walls, the humming lights. A cold sweat ran down my back. I decided to explore. The elevators stood in a row at the far end. Stainless steel doors, numbered buttons glowing faintly. I pressed the call button. The doors slid open with a whisper. Inside, the air was cooler. The panel showed 77 floors. I pressed the highest number. The elevator jolted and started moving up. The numbers ticked by. 1, 2, 3, then stopped. The doors slid open. I stepped out. The hallway stretched endlessly on both sides, lit by the same cold fluorescent light. On the walls hung portraits, faces I didn't recognize, old black and white photos, but one stood out. It was me. Different, older, eyes tired, almost haunted. I touched the glass, my breath fogging the frame. A whisper brushed my ear. "You've been here before." I spun around, but the corridor was empty. A sudden chill swept the air. The elevator doors closed behind me, but they didn't reopen. I was trapped between floors, somewhere between memory and nightmare. The elevator ride should have been simple. Press a button, reach the floor, step out. But this place didn't play by any rules I knew. I stood inside the small metal box, watching the numbers light up as we climbed. 1, 2, 3. But then something strange happened. The number stopped at 3, but the doors didn't open. The elevator shuddered, the lights flickered, and then the numbers started blinking erratically. 3, 3, 3. The hum turned into a low, unsettling drone. I pressed the button for floor 1. Nothing. The button for the lobby? Dead. The elevator was stuck. Panic crept in. Suddenly, the doors slid open. I stepped out, but the hallway was not the lobby I expected. The walls were covered with faded wallpaper, peeling at the edges. The fluorescent lights buzzed louder, casting long shadows. Portraits lined the corridor, faces frozen in time, eyes that seemed to follow me. And then I saw it, a picture of myself. But it wasn't the me I knew. This version had hollow eyes, a face drained of life. I backed away, heart pounding. The hallway stretched endlessly, folding back on itself like a maze designed to trap me. I tried to find the elevator doors again, but all I found were more hallways, more portraits, and silence that pressed in like a weight. My own footsteps echoed unnaturally loud. I called out, but my voice sounded distant, swallowed by the thick air. I turned a corner and found a small room with a cracked mirror. I stared into it. My reflection was late to follow my movements, like a badly synced film, and then it smiled. But I hadn't. I stumbled back, breath ragged. The elevator's hum faded, and then, far away, I heard a voice whisper my name. I wasn't alone. I stumbled through the endless halls, my breath shallow, heart pounding like a drum inside my chest. Every corner I turned led me back to the same flickering lights and peeling wallpaper. The air tasted stale, thick with something I couldn't name. Then I saw the door marked restrooms. Relief washed over me. Maybe here I could catch my breath, steady my nerves. Inside, the fluorescent lights buzzed unevenly, flickering in a maddening rhythm. I made my way to the sink, splashing cold water onto my face, hoping to clear the fog in my mind. But when I looked up, my reflection didn't match me. It lagged. Slowly, it blinked seconds after I did. Its mouth curled into a twisted smile, cruel, knowing. I leaned closer, whispering, "Who are you?" The reflection's lips moved, silent at first. Then I heard a faint whisper echo in my ears.
"You've been here before."
The lights flickered violently, and the mirror rippled like water disturbed by a stone. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind me. I lunged for the handle, locked. The walls bent and stretched, folding inward until the room became an endless maze of mirrors and shadows. I spun, panic flooding my senses. The reflection vanished. In its place, scratched deep into the glass, were the words, "There is no way out." I sank to the cold tile floor, every instinct screaming to run, but I was rooted in place. The silence pressed in, heavier than any scream could be. And in that silence, I understood. I was trapped inside something that fed on fear itself. Time had no meaning anymore. Minutes stretched like hours as I sat on the cold tile floor, heart hammering so loud I thought it might burst through my ribs. The silence around me was suffocating, pressing against my eardrums with a weight heavier than any scream. I forced myself up, limbs trembling, trying to shake the creeping dread that wrapped itself around my mind like a vice. The walls, they were changing. Slowly, imperceptibly at first, but then faster. Bending, folding, reshaping themselves like the building was breathing. The peeling wallpaper faded, replaced by cracked, cold stone covered in faded photographs. Faces stared at me from the cracked plaster, black and white images frozen in time. Men, women, children, their eyes empty, lifeless, yet somehow accusing. I stopped dead in front of the largest photo. It wasn't old, not faded or worn like the others. It was new, a recent print, sharp and clear. And it was a picture of me. But it wasn't the me I recognized. The face in the photo was older. Shadows hung beneath the eyes, skin pale and drawn tight, like I'd been living in darkness for decades. The eyes were haunted, lost in something I couldn't name. My breath caught in my throat. I reached out, trembling, and touched the glass. The cold bit through my skin. A sudden, cold breath brushed my neck. I whirled around. Nothing but the long, twisted corridor stretched behind me. And then I heard it, a whisper, low and chilling, right behind my ear.
You belong here.
My heart seized. Panic bubbled in my throat. I forced myself to look back at the photographs. They weren't just still pictures anymore. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the faces began to move. A twitch of an eye, a faint smile creeping across cracked lips, the slow blinking of someone waking from a long, dark sleep. The walls weren't just walls anymore. They were alive, watching me, waiting. I wanted to run, but my feet felt glued to the floor. The corridor stretched endlessly, folding back on itself like a cruel maze designed to trap me forever. And then, out of the thick shadows, came the voice again, a voice that wasn't mine, deep and cold.
Welcome home.
I swallowed hard, feeling my breath come in ragged gasps. The truth hit me like a punch. This place wasn't just a building. It was a prison, a trap, and I was its newest prisoner. Desperation clawed at me, and I stumbled forward, trying to find a door, a crack, anything that could lead me out. But every step brought me back to the same place. The photographs, the eyes, the whispering voices. I was becoming part of the walls. Another face in the endless gallery. The air grew colder, the shadows longer, and in that moment I knew I had been here before, not once, not twice, but many times. Trapped in a loop where time itself unraveled, where reality blurred and fear became the only truth. And this building, it wasn't just a place that shouldn't exist. It was a living nightmare. The corridors twisted and turned, each step echoing in the heavy silence. The building felt alive, shifting and folding around me, trapping me in a maze with no end. Faces stared from the walls, their hollow eyes filled with endless sorrow, some silently screaming, others frozen in despair. In each face, I saw fragments of myself, lost and trapped. I tried to recall how I ended up here. Was it a dream, a hallucination? But my memories slipped away like smoke, leaving only confusion and fear. Ahead, I saw a door, old and weathered, carved with strange symbols glowing faintly. The air thrummed with energy, and the voices whispered louder, almost chanting my name. My hands shook as I turned the knob. Inside was a small, dim room lit by a flickering bulb. In the center stood a wooden chair with loose straps. Dust covered the floor except for a narrow path recently disturbed. A cracked mirror hung on the wall, but when I looked in, it didn't reflect me. Instead, it showed a twisted street, impossibly tall buildings, shadows crawling along walls, and walking toward me was someone wearing my face. I stumbled back, heart pounding. The whispering grew louder, turning into a chorus chanting my name. I wanted to run, but my legs were frozen. The door slammed behind me. The mirror shattered, and I realized I was trapped in a nightmare loop, a place where escape was an illusion, and the building was the prison. The shards of the mirror lay scattered at my feet, glittering like tiny stars against the cracked floor. The air around me felt thick, heavy, like the building itself was holding its breath. I knew, deep down, this was it. The final moment, the last chance. I forced myself to stand, muscles stiff and trembling. The whispers had grown into a deafening chorus, voices overlapping, urging me to stay, to surrender. But I refused. Somewhere inside, a flicker of hope, or maybe just stubborn defiance, kept me moving forward. The door behind me was locked tight, and no matter how much I tried, it wouldn't budge. The only path was ahead. The corridor stretched endlessly, walls lined with faces, my face, all distorted in agony and despair. But as I walked, I realized something new. The faces weren't static. They reached out, their hands clawing at the walls, desperate to escape. I pressed on until I reached the last door, an unmarked, plain wooden slab, different from all the others. The whispers ceased. Silence. I gripped the cold brass handle and pulled. The door swung open into darkness. I stepped inside. The room was empty, except for a single window. Moonlight spilled in, illuminating a small desk covered in dust and a notebook. I opened the notebook. The pages were filled with handwriting, mine, but not memories I recognized. Instead, stories of people trapped here before me, all lost in the building's endless loop. One page stood out.
The building feeds on fear, trapping souls in its walls. The only way out is to stop the cycle, to face the fear and refuse to be afraid.
I closed my eyes, taking a deep breath. The faces outside screamed silently, but inside I reached for something I hadn't felt in a long time. Calm. I opened my eyes. The room shimmered. The walls dissolved. I was back outside. The street was quiet, empty. The building was gone. I looked down at my hands, steady, real. I walked away, the night air crisp against my skin. And though the memory of the building lingered like a shadow, I knew I had broken the cycle. I was free.